AM 760, talking breaking news. Mark Larson here, and all of us here today. No one leaves. Everybody. Mike Slater went back, took a nap.
No one leaves.
20 minutes. You come in, it's like the Roach Motel. You come in, we just can't leave. We don't want to leave because it's the big Radiothon today. Help send our heroes home for the holidays. Warrior Foundation, Freedom Station, annual fundraiser. But this really is, as you know it, Mike. It's a labor of love year-round. The work that's being done there at Freedom Station 1 and now Freedom Station 2. All the planning that goes into it. If you ever want a great case history about how everyday people can get involved and say, hey, what if I do that, as Sandy Lemcooler did 15 years ago, right here on this radio station, and that led to this now, $18 million in donations later. And that was just very tiny little overhead. We often talk about how, yeah, there's another organization with the word warrior in it that's had some issues. That's not what we're talking about here. This is the San Diego-based Warrior Foundation Freedom Station. It's the Radiothon. You can donate at 760KFMB.com or call 800-760-KFMB, 800-760-5362. Operators are standing by. They're decked out in holiday finery. You can watch us on Facebook at AM 760 KFMB or KFMB at the website 760KFMB.com. The reindeer have these moments where they get really busy, and right now they're just looking pretty. Would you ring the bells again so we can signify for the radio audience here? If they have hands-free to ring the bells, that means they need to be answering phones right now. So. And when they're not answering phones, they're just inhaling sugary cookies. So we want them to be able to be conscious most of the day if possible. And again, we have special incentives at various giving levels here. So we're going to make you happy. And the most important thing is sending our heroes home for the holidays. That's what we do. It's what this organization has done for all these years. I know Mike Slater's here. You go to, what's the website for the... charity verification. Charity Navigator. 4-star rating. I mean, this is the real deal. And no one's gotten paid until, well, of course, Colonel Martin is now the president, but that's the first paid employee, and he works cheaply too. So you know, he's dedicated, and
he's super humble.
Oh yeah.
Have you talked to him last hour a little bit? Yeah. I mean, like one of the most impressive colonels that we've had in a long time, and now he's leading the Warrior Foundation. It's pretty awesome.
Right, and he's seen it on both ends. You know, he was out there really helping move things along and get logistics taken care of so the heroes could get home for the holidays. We are right now at $735,441. Look at that.
Amazing.
That is fantastic. See, now they're answering phones so they can't applaud, but they're there. Mike, you have one of our favorite guys here, right?
Yeah.
And he's as we were in the break, he was replacing windows in the building. It's amazing.
Everywhere he goes, he just tears them down and puts up new ones. Like, we didn't even hire you for that.
Like he's done at Freedom Station, too.
Well, that's the thing. Duncan Newman's here. Duncan, how are you, brother? Good to
I'm
see
well.
you.
How are you?
From Newman Windows.
Yeah. When we first met, when you first told me you were doing something with the Warrior Foundation, I thought financial donation, but it's way more than that. The Freedom Station and what you've been able to do to help these guys out with their windows, and it's way more than just a cosmetic improvement. Can you speak to that?
It is. So what I learned recently was that...
Real quick, Justin, is that mic picking up? Microphone 2?
Mic 2. Justin's, by the way, thanks to Dan and Justin and the whole team, because they're down the hall.
It's a tricky technical effort here.
This is like mirrors, ropes, pulleys, hamsters.
Okay, let's try again, see if that works.
Hello.
I think it was working. Yeah, okay, you're good.
Testing.
Yes. We're up. So the importance of not just cosmetic, but new windows and Freedom Station.
No, it's not. In fact, my brother Nick and I had a meeting with the Historical Society of San Diego, because this next project is a little trickier than the first one. Freedom Station 2. And, we had to get the point across to them that this is not just windows. These guys with their limbs, replacement knees, hips, elbows, their prosthetics and all of it are affected by temperature. And so it's not about just putting in old single pane windows. This is for noise, it's for energy efficiency, it's for temperature control. And so with Freedom Station 2 having new air conditioning and heating systems put in there, if you just put in old single pane windows, it would just defeat the whole purpose. So this is a much bigger deal than just replacing the window.
Unless you're in that world like Sandy and these guys are, and now you are, who would have thought of that the temperature has to be precise for these guys who have these prosthetic limbs?
Exactly.
Well, yeah, it's a lot like when we talk about how you have to have the logistics of putting these heroes on airplanes to get back for the holidays. It's not like you go, well, here's your really great rate, we got you a Southwest or whatever, and just go on your merry way. It's not that simple. there's all these other things, the temperatures, the needs, the recovering, getting clearances and all of that same kind of thing. By the way, speaking about Freedom Station 2, around noon today on your show, they always give you the big announcements.
What's happening at noon? I don't
today.
know.
Well, Sandy Lemkiller says there's a special announcement that she'll be making around noon
Okay, great.
about Freedom Station 2. That is encouraging. That ties
forward
into
to that show.
All this. Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Should listen to the show. It's your hosting.
Yeah. What did you do for Freedom Station 1, and what have you done for Freedom Station 2 now?
So Freedom Station 1, we went down and replaced. You always ask me this question, and I forget the number. I think it was about 180 windows.
It's way more than anyone would think.
It's a lot of windows.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. I think there were maybe 8 units in that one. I'm not sure if I'm right. And then the new one, Freedom Station 2, is, I want to say, almost twice the size.
Really?
Yep. Part of it's 2-story, beautiful old building built in the 1920, 28, something like that. But we're going to replace all of those. This is a much bigger project than Freedom Station 1.
Oh, wow.
We've been involved now for, I would say, over a year, and it has changed. And then it's changed again.
Yeah.
And then it changed again.
And not because of we want it to change.
No.
And I don't want to get anyone in trouble with the historical foundation or anything like that, or the city.
No.
But
however, one can imagine.
complicated.
One can imagine how that is. Because
Exactly.
building anything of significance in California is a labor of love and strong intestinal fortitude needs.
And you add the historical aspect of all this, which you guys have been very accommodating on. But
and we love doing it. If this was for a regular customer, I'd be broke.
We appreciate that you're not billing them for
because of what
that.
it's for, obviously, we're going to do whatever we can to help and to get it through and seen and done and to completion.
Really
so
good.
I think Sandy's got a nice announcement to make today.
Oh, is that
That's the one. That's the one I'm alluding to. That's the announcement.
Spoiler alert.
Around noon. That's all we know.
Before we get to Mr. Mann here, who's one of these guys who benefits from all this, do you have another announcement to make now, or do you want to wait till noon? Is that the noon announcement?
Oh, once again,
pregnant, if that's what you mean.
Slater is piling up all the extra good stuff into the noon hour.
Yeah, why don't you wait? Save all announcements for noon, everyone.
Yeah. Well, yes, on behalf of Newman Windows and Doors. By the way, can I just say that for anyone that's confused, we did change our company name this year after 26 years from Newman Replacement Windows to Newman Windows and Doors.
Is that because you do windows and doors?
It's because we do doors, and people apparently didn't know.
Oh,
So
really?
we changed it to Newman Windows and Doors. But on behalf of Newman Windows and Doors, I'd like to give $1,000 to the cause and our way of helping and saying thank you.
Beautiful. Thank
Well, if
you
you had a
guys.
house, I mean,
Appreciate you,
frankly, you got to have doors. If it's all windows, that'd be an interesting in and out of the house.
Yes.
So, I mean, you could do it, but not with as tough as your windows are. So,
true.
Mike, another guest to introduce here. As
Yeah,
well.
Mark Mann, how are you, brother?
I'm doing well. How
Good
are
to
you?
see you, man. What was your first interaction with Warrior Foundation?
My first interaction, probably about 3 years ago, was one of the members of the cycling team coming to me and asking me if I wanted to be on the team. And I had seen them previously giving out gifts at the Warrior, the Wounded Warrior. So I kind of knew a little bit about them, but I didn't know too much.
Yep.
So I accepted, and I've been on the cycling team ever since then.
So first of all, what are your injuries, if I may?
Say again?
What were your injuries?
My injuries were, I had my throat was crushed, jaw was fractured. I had a fractured right foot and dislocation, and then my right arm was crushed.
So tell us about this cycling team.
And I also had traumatic brain injury.
Tell us about the cycling team and the importance of it.
Well, the importance of the cycling team is, one, I get to cycle. I wouldn't be able to do this without them. And they sponsor me for races, big rides. You know, getting on the bike is a real importance to me. Is it gives me a place where I can have an outlet. I can clear my mind. Otherwise, I wouldn't have that. Riding a bike can be pretty pricey at times.
Yep. And so why is that important to have a space like that where you can do that
Well,
because of your injuries?
Well, if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to rehab my injuries. I wouldn't be able to stay as active as I do now. If you become inactive, the injuries tend to get worse.
Yes.
And then become a couch potato. You kind of want to shy yourself away from the world a little bit.
Well, that's the other part. So it's
Yeah.
physically bad,
Physically.
but also emotionally and spiritually
Oh yes,
as well.
yes. And getting on a bike just opens up a whole new world to you.
And then you do it with your brothers too, right?
Oh,
So
yes,
it's-
yes,
So there's a
absolutely.
tribal component to it.
Yes.
Shared mission, travel,
Yeah.
all that good
Absolutely.
stuff. And that's, if I may, Mark, it's the that's the importance of what we're doing here, which is flying our guys home for Christmas.
You
is
bet.
not only the physical help that Balboa gives, but the emotional and spiritual help that home can give. So the cycling team's a good metaphor for all that, right? You get all those in one.
All those in one.
And same thing with the sending our guys home. You get the emotional and spiritual help too.
And all of this is so encouraging to those who are now just going through this, because there are, the war situations continue. You have returning veterans, and when you feel like you're not with any sort of hope on so many fronts, this is something to look toward, to embrace, to be part of, to say, wait a minute, look at this guy. Like the man we're talking to, or Chris Lawrence and some of the others. You can't ignore that. It's real. It's authentic, and it's getting the job done. That's why we needed to call 800-760-KFMB. Make a donation of any amount. We've had $50 donations. We've had $1,000 donations. We've had $5,000 donations. All I know is that an hour ago, we were sitting here just past $700,000 right now, and that's a mind-boggling number, way ahead of pacing last year. But don't let that make you think that, okay, now we're kind of done. Now we're going for $1 million today with your help. You make it happen. So call 800-760-KFMB, 800-760-5362. Or online, you can donate very quickly, very easily, 760kfmb.com, 760kfmb.com. We're at $743,441 now.
Spectacular.
We're that close to making that next milestone, $750,000. This morning I mentioned there was a $22 donation during Armstrong and Getty that pushed us past $500,000.
Yeah, cool.
That was the creatively named one for the Eric Swalwell's musical sphincter, or whatever they call it. You see, that's the fun thing. You go online, people are having fun with this. You go to 760kfmb.com. You can be anonymous. Some people just say anonymous donor, but there's also a chance there where you can mask your name and just come up with something creative, and there have been some really funny ones there. But it's all for the cause, sending our heroes home for the holidays. David, thank you for your $200 just 2 minutes ago. Thanks so much for that. Here's a generic kind of anonymous. A supporter contributed $50. Carolyn, thank you for your $100 donation moments ago. Kevin, $50. Steve, $50. Ivan or Yvonne, you can take both, $50. Thank you. Robert, $25. Here's one of the creative ones. Squawky's Bail Fund. I'm not sure if that's a, but that could be both. Could be a business. Hey, $10, we'll take it. You got to mention. Mark, $40, thank you. Marion, $10. All this adds up, and it's driving that number right now at 760kfmb.com. Richard, $50, thank you. Christy, $40. Kathy Rose, $50. I just love watching this happen, and we've talked a lot about how this is such a broad-based labor love. You know, when it comes to politicians and they have to do those quarterly reports, Mike, and they have to show how much they raised. And it's always, well, show who has more donors. You know, my average donor is $20 or whatever. Right now we have, and you can see this when you go to 760kfmb.com, not only the total raised, but we have at the moment 4,887 supporters contributing to that number. They're $10, $50, $100 supporters. I mean, and the big stuff. It's amazing to watch how this comes together. And frankly, we got a lot of jaw dropping we're doing this year because of the momentum. I think part of this might be from the economy in terms of, the numbers came out today. I was just looking at these. I think people feel pretty good despite all the politics and everything else out there. Job growth is soaring, record number of people working, unemployment's at a 50-year low. That ought to make you happy for the Christmas holiday season. Yeah. And I think some of that's translating into people stepping up. A lot of people have given before, previous years. They're stepping up even more than last time. Some people, kind of like when you MC, Mike Slater will be out at auctions emceeing things, and suddenly you get people bidding against themselves, and they don't realize it. Sometimes they make a donation, they go, I can forego that. I'll call back, or I'll go to 760kfmb.com.
The double donation.
And do it again. I love that.
Mark, can you speak for a minute? Mark Mann, can you speak for a minute of the importance of going home for Christmas? Do you know some of these guys here who have been able to get that plane ticket home and the importance of that?
Oh, it's really important for the guys. I mean, imagine just being in a barracks room over the Christmas holidays, and you're really surrounded by nobodies. Mostly it's like a ghost town. Everybody's kind of gone. But you're in your barracks room, right? And the foundation comes in and just buys you a plane ticket to go home, be with the family for the holidays. And you just imagine what that does to a person, to be able to go home, see their family, like you said, I believe earlier, sleep in your own bed. Yeah. And just be around everybody rather than being in a barracks room alone. Yeah,
it's the dichotomy. It's the joy of home And then it's the what if you don't do that? Well, you're alone in a barracks room or in the hospital.
Yeah,
like that's terrible. Like it's not even neutral. It's not even okay. That's not a good place to be.
Yeah,
when the alternative, especially, is so good.
Yeah.
1-800-760-KFMB.
The bells are ringing. You know what that means?
What does that mean? Is that any donation, or is that over a certain amount?
Let me just. Well, now Sandy's on television. Now, Brian. Okay, Kristen. Do you know? So when are we ringing the bells at thresholds? Okay, Dave. What's the threshold? Dave Sniff, also David Snow on his alias for the police. What's the threshold this year? I've not seen the entire.
Let me remove this mic for your face for just a second so I can answer that question. I think that the threshold is somewhere around $100, $1,000.
Okay, wow, pretty good.
So every time, it's kind of like It's a Wonderful Life. You know, every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings. Well, every time the reindeer, and we have people in reindeer hats here or whatever on their head. Every time we get $1,000, when you hear the bell ringing, that means that's another $1,000.
It's about 2 plane tickets.
Yep.
That'll get you 2 plane tickets.
Great stuff. And again, the Warrior Foundation Freedom Station works so well. They've been doing this for all these years now, since 2004. They know how to get the best impact, how to get the proper, with all the different variables of each of these injured heroes and their needs. Because again, you can't just say hop on the plane and good luck, and because it takes assistance, takes different levels of prep and care. And at the same time, while you're prepping and waiting for clearance, of course, the airlines, the rates are going up. There's a lot of demand, especially this time of the year. But the whole team at Warrior Foundation Freedom Station knows exactly how to get the biggest bang for the buck, how to maximize this, because they've been doing it now for a long time and so effectively. And again, you've got just a tiny little bit of overhead. I mean, next to nothing. You listen to Duncan Newman talking about what's gone on you mentioned about what you do this, if it was a retail customer, based on what it takes to jump through all the regulatory hoops and all that with historic buildings. You do that because you want to do it, it's the right thing to do, but all that has such tremendous value. I don't know if we can even calculate what all that is worth. So when people give $1 or 10 or 100, that's really fueling some big impact.
They can't legally. They can't say. Sorry, Stella's on the TV right now.
Oh, she was testing. Did that mean that she didn't get a $1,000 donation, did her?
No, they're on the TV now, so they had to make a big hook.
Oh, she had to test the bells. It was only a test.
You can't legally say 100% goes to the Warriors because Sandy had to pay an accountant to tally it up to get it to Charity Navigator. And so it's 99.999%, right? So it's just under 100% goes to our guys. Duncan, you've been to Freedom Station a bunch. Is there anything that stood out to you in particular, either people you saw or things you saw or spirit you felt, anything that stood out for you?
Yeah, if I go back to Freedom Station 1, meeting the guys down there, Povis, who I've probably known now for 5 or 6 years, is just one of the guys, but the character of the guys that have these incredible injuries, and they're smiling, right? I have bad days, and I don't smile. Yeah. These guys have given almost their entire life, and they're still smiling, they're happy. Sandy, I think, is like the great-grandmother to all of them. She makes them all feel good. And it's incredible to see them. It's nice to see them with the dogs. I know there was a dog over there on TV a little while ago. Yeah. The support from wives and girlfriends and boyfriends and all of it. It's an incredible feeling, and it's a very humbling feeling to be part of this. And I would suggest that everybody get involved. If you want to feel good about yourself, get involved with this because it will make you feel good.
1-800-760-KFMB. That's such a great point about the spirit of that place because, man, it could be a dark place. Right? Mm-hmm. And that would be understandable. Yeah. If you walked there and it was kind of a depressing, sad place because of what's going on and what the injuries are and the hurdles that have to be overcome still, but it's not even close.
Not even close.
It's amazing. Having gone down, I know you've done this too, having gone down and walked through to see, who's there and new areas being prepared for incoming individuals and just feeling it, living it. It's just overwhelming. You're talking about the mood issue. I just saw this. One of these stories kind of trending today. You gotta love this. Some people who do such, this Hatch organization that did a survey about people's moods. And the headline is, Morning Madness, Average Adult Wakes Up Grumpy 300 Days a Year. Okay, there's a lot of reasons why people can wake up grumpy. But you put it in perspective. You know, why are you jumping? I don't like the weather. I don't like the traffic.
Yeah.
I don't like what happened last night. And we had an argument, whatever. Then you think about what these injured heroes
I
have
don't have
gone
a
through.
leg.
Yeah, and I'm not going to have other than prosthetic, which obviously there's so many great advances, but it's final. We're talking. In fact, you were talking, I think, earlier today with the individual who was he have blindness involved there as well.
Josue.
Yeah.
So Josue had a
Josue, yeah.
bomb blow up, lost his leg, his right eye, and when he woke up 5 days later, he couldn't see out of either eye. So he woke up blind. Think about how about that? How
And
about
then
that
he finally
for
gets
terror?
home. But he talked about, as you were relating that during the Armstrong and Getty show this morning, Mike Slater, he talked about when he came home and how he and his wife, his new wife, just broke down because all of a sudden all the noise, like we have all the noise in here, this is good noise because people are calling 800-760 KFMB, 800-760-5362, donating there or going to 760KFMB.com to help us send our heroes home for the holidays, just tuning in. That's what we're doing. But he talked about when he got home, all the noise, you know, all the people popping in every 5 minutes, you know, as they do in hospitals.
Nurses, yeah.
That was all done. And then the finality of the condition sets in.
It didn't hit him until after he was removed from the hospital at home, and the silence of it all, and then that's when it all hit, and then that's when Warrior Foundation stepped in and said, "You're not alone. We still have you, and we're going to help."
Yeah, so think about that. If you're having a bad day, or if you talk to these people who did the survey of 2,000 Americans, finding most people rarely ever wake up in a good mood. Over the course of a calendar year, the average U.S. adult will wake up in a bad mood 300 times, meaning they'll only experience 65 good mornings. You know what's great? The individuals who are receiving the care and the people doing the caregiving and all that works with the Warrior Foundation Freedom Station have a better mood every day because they know they're getting this done. I woke up, I don't know about you, I woke up in a great mood this morning knowing today's the day we do this.
Oh, and Sandy, as you said, Duncan, the leader of this, like she's on fire every single day, nonstop. I rolled in here at 5 o'clock. She's like full speed ahead, pedal to the metal.
And every time we turn the tote board over again,
she cries.
She does. I mean, it's just, which is, I mean, that's genuine. Because again, this started on this radio station on AM 760 in 2004 when she saw a need. She was a Navy wife, husband's deployed, just going down to see what our injured heroes need. And they, no, we don't need anything with it. And then they finally said, well, we need these razors, and here are the specs. We've been thinking about it. We need to be able to use this because we're not all what we were before we went to war. And then in 45 minutes, I raised $30,000 right here in 2004. And it actually went to 60,000 plus. So she said, well, we can use some of the surplus. We'll send our heroes home for the holidays. And from that,
here we are.
I mean, think if Sandy had done what a lot of people do. Like the survey says, I'm going to be in a grumpy mood today. I don't want to get involved. Somebody else will do it. I don't know. Maybe somebody else might have done that. I don't think it would have been done the same way had she not taken that little nucleus, that nudge, that personal nudge just to do something. And she talked about how she wrote it down in her Palm Pilot. She didn't have one then. She wrote it on her palm, in ink about what they wanted. And that turned into this.
Can you guys speak to Sandy for a minute? You guys know her well. You both.
No, pretty.
Go ahead, Mark. What do you think of Sandy Lemcool?
She has a lot of energy. A lot of energy.
And you can't tell her no.
No, and
that's helpful too.
She's very convincing, and she's always on the go. She's always trying to help people. That's what I've noticed about her.
It's the Warrior Foundation, the Freedom Station Radiothon, proudly supported by West Automotive Group, Bill Howe Plumbing, Heating and Air, National City Mile of Cars, Walter Anderson Nursery, and great people like Duncan Newman at Newman Windows and Doors. I should mention that. That's good. And again, there's so many people like you who are involved at not tooting horns all the time about, hey, look how great we are. We coerce you to come in here and tell the story so people understand. Again, we'll have a Freedom Station 2 update, and some special announcement coming up around noon, which will tie to what Duncan was talking about. So the work's getting done, and it's getting done because local businesses, in addition to all those donor partners like you at 760KFMB.com, these businesses get involved and do the work. And you're not running, I mean, I'm sure you could add it up, figure out what it's worth in value, but you do it because you want to do it, because you see the difference there.
And I would keep doing it if it was twice as difficult.
And you're on digital recording on that. You keep doing it if it was nice.
The city takes that as a challenge.
That's right. 760kfmb.com or call 800-760-KFMB, 1-800-760-5362. Mark Larson here along with Mike Slater. Mike will take over the reins of his own show with special announcements, and he always gets these extra goodies between noon and 3, and Brett's going to be here this afternoon. We're in the cavernous, nicely decorated Studio A in the KFMB station's complex, and you can watch this on Facebook at AM 760 KFMB, and just watch how radio is made. Best thing is you can see, you can hear, you can feel the energy in the room, and that's happening because people like you are making donations. Right now, we just turned over to $746,086 on the way to our $1 million goal.
Let's do that right now.
Yeah, let's do it during the break here, which we'll take, and do a news update. AM 760, talk and breaking news.
AM 760's Warrior Foundation Freedom Station Radiothon. Donate now. 800-760-KFMB. AM 760.
your support. Keep calling. 800-760-KFMB, 1-800-760-5362. Yes, that translates to 800-760-KFMB. It's a free call. You can go on the internet, go to 760KFMB.com, 760KFMB.com. Donate there. It takes just a moment to contribute. Tax deductible, of course. This is a tremendous organization, right up there at the top in terms of accountability and the ratings for charities and so forth, really having very, very little overhead at all because of the donated the work, the volunteers, the donated supplies for Freedom Station 1, Freedom Station 2. We have a special announcement coming up in the noon hour that involves Freedom Station 2 and some of the challenges. You know, to build anything in California takes intestinal fortitude, let's just say. So there's some good news on that front. We'll tell you about that coming up. There's another number. I'm watching these, the number of supporters. I've mentioned this a lot because it says a lot about how broad this is. I mean, it's not like we had a handful of people come in and drop, $50,000 or $100,000 in donations, which you can do if you're able to do that. I mean, there are people out there dropping $15 million here and there and just have all of these wonderful projects near and dear. But if you care about our heroes, our injured soldiers, those who have put it on the line and sacrificed for liberty and freedom and human rights, then think about that. Think about a donation of any kind, as much as you can. Every bit helps. We've had some, you would say smaller donations, but they're not. They're all big. They're big impact for the people giving. And many times this morning we've had these moments where we go over another jaw-dropping marker, like 10 a.m. this morning, all the way up to beyond $500,000 early on, and then 600,000 plus, a little over 7. We came in here, now we're at 750,000 just about. There's 4,916 supporters. Every time I look at an update and see the donations coming in at 5, 10, $100, $50, it keeps adding. There's such a wide breadth of support. Ada, thank you for your $27. I like these amounts. And obviously, there's a story behind the $27. One of the supporters wanted to be anonymous online at 760kfmb.com, and you can do that. You can come up with even an assumed name or something catchy, or have some fun with it. But a couple of anonymous supporters, $10 and $25. Gregory, thank you for your $100 tax-deductible donation. Rick, $100. Another supporter at $15. Patricia, thanks for your $20. Ann, $250. Thank you so much, Ann. Call 800-760-KFMB, 800-760-KFMB, 800-760-5362. David, $100. Eli, $50. Thank you. Sean, $20. Jeff, $100. Elaine, $50. Thank you. Larry, $500. Thank you so much, Larry. Appreciate that. Warrior Foundation Freedom Station not only flies the Warriors home for the holidays, but celebrates their service throughout the entire season. Other annual programs that lift the spirits of these warriors include Deck the Halls. Hundreds of volunteers descend on Naval Medical Center San Diego. That's what we used to call Balboa Naval Hospital, one of the nation's preeminent military hospitals for amputee care. And they transform it into a winter wonderland. There's $1,000 if that was ringing properly. We hear those that was $1,000 from a donor there. Call 800-760-KFMB, 800-760-5362, or go to 760kfmb.com. Warrior Foundation Freedom Station also distributes Christmas presents to hundreds of injured Marines and soldiers and sailors. And this does not happen unless you call, unless you help, unless you donate what you can right now. So thank you for what you've done. Thank you for what you're going to do. This always just boggles the minds of the so-called experts. When you look at what people say, especially when here we are on AM radio, on AM 760, and of course we're partnering with our sister stations here as well. But this is driven, for the most part, by what happens here on AM 760, what Armstrong and Getty are able to do in the morning. And every year they just can't wait, so they start talking about it on Monday. They really primed the pump well and got us off to a great start. And now, between now and 6 p.m., we're just sitting back here in excitement and anticipation and a little bit of fear and dread. It's kind of like, well, these are big numbers. We have a goal of $1 million by 6 o'clock tonight. And right now, we just turned over to $748,133. There is time to donate, but don't wait, because every minute that goes by, if you wait, it's more difficult for the team at Warrior Foundation Freedom Station to do the planning, the logistics, because it takes time to get these heroes home for the holidays. It's not as easy as just getting, going online and getting a great low fare, and then you just meander off and drag your stuff to the airport. It's not that easy. It's much more complex, and getting the clearances, depending on the injuries involved, it takes a lot of work from a lot of great people, and it happens because you, right now, are deciding to make a donation of any amount. Every dollar makes impact. So call 800-760-KFMB, 800-760-5362, or go to 760kfmb.com. Jim Bettinger is here, Commander Bettinger, who has quite a life story in service to America as well, one of the board members here on Warrior Foundation Freedom Station, and I hold a copy of your book that's available now, Patriot, Prisoner, Survivor, An American Family at War. And this really touches the family, doesn't it? When you get to the holiday season, this is a big thing. And to think about how it came together. So give us your thoughts on what we're doing and what's been done. And again, you're doing it from a member of the board side, from that position at the organization.
Certainly. Many people think that as a prisoner of war, you don't think about Christmas, and nothing could be further from the truth. And the Vietnamese communists really knew this. So in Hanoi, they every December would build a Christmas room, and then on Christmas Eve bring various cells into the room. And in 1969, I was being held in isolation from the other prisoners and came into this room. And
this is at the Hanoi Hilton?
At the Hanoi Hilton in Wallow Prison. Yeah. And the first thing I saw when I came in the room was Santa Claus looking like he was going to throw a bowling ball. And it looked like he had a bowling ball. And then I looked closely, and there was a fuse blowing coming down, and the caption on the picture is "This Christmas have a ball." And I started laughing, and they wanted to know what was so funny, and I said, some American pulled something off, and I sure don't want to get him in trouble, so I just said, oh, this reminds me so much of home. I just feel so happy to be surrounded by Christmas.
And again, you were there in Vietnam during that conflict. You were there in the so-called Hanoi Hilton.
Correct.
For how long?
3 years, 4 months. And I got there in '69 and was returned with Operation Homecoming in 1973.
Yeah, right here at Miramar. And what a great, those images come back just.
My favorite image of it all is on page 271.
In your book, yes.
Yes, and 271, right. Thank you to
Describe it, since this is radio, Jim.
This is a picture of when I stepped away from the microphones at Miramar, and my wife was able to leave the car, and she jumped into my arms.
And
the Union Tribune photographer caught that, and every morning I look at that picture because it's in a teak frame on my bureau.
I'm just amazed at how the two of you are standing. Because you have your foot behind you, especially after coming out of captivity for that long, and she could bowl you over there, but you're stoic. It's defying the laws of gravity.
Well, I may have been only about 140 pounds, but I still could do 100 push-ups without stopping.
You could give Joe Biden the challenge. He was challenging people on the trail yesterday.
Yeah, that's in the news too, isn't
Jim
it?
Bettinger. When I think about that 3 years plus in captivity as you were as prisoner of war at the Hanoi Hilton. There's another $1,000. You hear those cowbells ringing. More cowbell, please. More cowbell. Talking to a lot of our warriors today, a lot of the injured heroes, they'll say, well, I had 3 years of this. I'm thinking of the same time. Okay, so you're in the worst of the prisons as a prisoner of war. Many of these injured heroes come back, and they're going through the same kind of time frame. Different kind of, they're not being tortured, they're coming back, but there's such pain. I mean, I've got to think there's some parallels when you think about it and what got you involved in this organization.
There are a few parallels. I spent some time at Balboa Hospital, obviously, and I think the treatment by the Navy for the returned POWs was extraordinary and unparalleled. And we returned in such a short period of time as a group that we were talking to one another and renewing friendships, and some people who had tapped on the wall, never seen the other guy on the other side of the wall, finally got to see the guy at Balboa Hospital. So it was a lot of positives. I think the soldiers today, and our Marines in particular, when they come home with their kind of injuries, the physical injuries and the medical attention to them is tremendous, but a lot of people forget that also those injuries often came from a concussion and that they have been concussed to the point where they really do have now what is a disorder, not just the syndrome. And they have certain symptoms, like, for instance, if they go into a hotel and they're in a big ballroom and they take them to a side room which has a very low ceiling and all the rest, they're probably not going to react in a positive way to that. If you keep them in a dark place and suddenly bring them out and everyone starts taking pictures of them and all those lights are going off, they're not going to respond like you and I would respond. So
right.
there are some real things that we're learning from this, and I think the most beautiful thing is our active duty military have got the command and control and the communications down where when they are injured, they can get to the green zone and they can get the traumatic treatment start and then get to Germany and then get back to Bethesda or down here in San Diego. So the medical side is something that's amazing, and some of that takes a long time. But for the wide majority of them, what really takes a long time is the PTSD and trying to overcome and get the memories in a positive route. And I think the POWs did that to themselves when they were in the Hanoi Hilton by the way we communicated, not just tapping on the wall, but talking through the wall and bucking up each other. Yeah. And we had some pretty tough nuts, but we had some guys that, didn't want to go through all the torture that some of the others did, and yet they would come back, regain the wings of resistance, and the next day give the communists a hard time and make them go another week to try to get another written statement out of them. And I think that is how the expression arose of return with honor, because it's not how you failed in any way, shape, or form, but how you regain the wings of resistance. And you were part of a unit, and that unit was the 5th POW Allied Wing.
Well, Jim Bettinger, Commander Bettinger, veteran, board member of Warrior Foundation Freedom Station. The bells are ringing. You like that? We got up. We took a leap here. Now we're at $758,968. You look at that, knowing you've been around this place for a while.
I have.
Warrior Foundation Freedom Station. These numbers are just jaw-dropping in terms of the pace.
Yeah, it amazes me each year how they grow each year and how the community supports us across a lot of different levels.
Now, at the same time, when you support, and I know we have a lot of people who can do this, but this is what's available right now. There'll be some more incentives through the course of the day as if you need incentives, but these are more thank yous. If you donate $5,000, we're going to get you a Fiesta for $25,000. You and 24 of your closest friends, thanks to Chuck Ross, and he's the president of the Restaurant Association, so they are always here partnering with us every year. So it's your own Fiesta. You and 24 friends hosted private party at the picturesque and delicious Fiesta del Reyes in Old Town. Fiesta del Reyes. We're all getting tired of talking here. It's a lot of work doing a radio. Taking the colorful sights, the twinkling lights, and you know how it is in Old Town. It's just gorgeous, and you and your guests will enjoy homemade tray-passed appetizers, an authentic dinner buffet with fresh tortillas from Casa de Reyes restaurant. And there's going to be Mexican beers and house wines, or, water or soft drinks or whatever. And the best margaritas in San Diego while enjoying festive Latin music, the mariachis, or folklore. I can't even say that. I don't say folklorical. Live radio. Folklorico. Dance. If I do, I'm just throwing out a hip thinking about doing that right now at the Fiesta de Reyes stage. A Fiesta to remember, and you can use that at the Casa de Reyes restaurant in Old Town if you donate $5,000.
And don't forget the best margaritas in San Diego.
That's what it says right there, and that's true. There you have it. All right, so call 760KFMB.com. We'll also, regale you with the pronunciations of dance steps. That I'm not even going to get into the one-man lambada. So call now, 760KFMB. That's an 800 number, of course, 1-800-760-KFMB, 800-760-5362. We're just about $760,000 now. We're closing in on 5,000 supporters. And we appreciate so much all the effort you're doing. Jim, thank you, and you representing a lot of the board members as well for being here and carrying on this labor of love.
That's exactly what it is, a labor of love.
760KFMB.com. Here's another little one of our vignettes. We have some of these where you hear from some of the people who are being helped, some of the people where you make a tremendous difference in lives like these when you call and make your donation for the Warrior Foundation Freedom Station Radiothon right now here on AM 760, 800-760-KFMB, or go to 760KFMB.com. Listen to this.
My name is Perry Price. I'm from Wilmington, Delaware. So a little bit about my military experience. Straight out of basic, they gave me the option to choose stateside or overseas. And I chose overseas. And I went to Korea, my first tour, for a year and 4 months. A great experience. Then I came home. I went to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and it was amazing. I went to jump school. I went to air assault school. And I went to re-enlist. And they found a lump on the back of my leg. They thought it was osteoporosis. They sent me to Walter Reed Medical Center. And come to find out it was bone cancer. And so right then, my life drastically changed right at that moment. Shortly thereafter, I lost my right leg. And I had to transition out of the military. Once I transitioned out of the military and a little bit of time passed because I had to get my mind together. I had to mentally, emotionally, the drastic changes physically. Little time passed, I found wheelchair basketball. And I was through like a military camp. I was at Nationals and I met Sandy from the Warrior Foundation Freedom Station. The Warrior Foundation has helped me tremendously. I tell them all the time, this is like a godsend for me. It's really helped me. It's helped me reconnect with family. It's helped me to reconnect with my purpose and things that I want to do, going back to school in the fall. It's really ignited that fire back into me that was lost when I lost my leg. One of the things the Warrior Foundation did for me was they sent me home for the holidays last Christmas. And I did not have the funds for it. I didn't have the money. But when they said, listen, we're sending our troops home, we're sending our veterans home for the holidays, I was like, yes, it was amazing. You know, go home and to see my family and see friends. And it was just great around the holidays. And I knew it wouldn't have happened had not the Warrior Foundation stepped up and provided that for me.
Help send a hero home for the holidays. Call now, 1-800-760-KFMB, 800-760-5362.
And we are live from the cavernous Studio A. Can we hear, I want to hear applause if you can get off the phone. No, well, stay on the phone if you're taking donations, but I want to hear, so we can, that's just a sampling of people who can actually applaud you. That are on the phone right now. That's good. We'd love to see that, and occasionally you hear the cowbell, which every time that's done, and it's not just a test of the cowbell, that's a $1,000 donation. 760 KFMB. This is where you come for the Warrior Foundation Freedom Station. It started all here back in 2004. You can donate now. Your tax-deductible donation, 800-760 KFMB, 800-760-5362. Thank you so much, Sue, for your $50. Steve, $20. Kathleen, $100. Suzanne, $100. Chase, $50. We have several anonymous gifts, including one at $25. There's one at $50. Michael, this is Michael Jordan. If that's the real Michael Jordan, I mean, like the basketball Michael Jordan, you can do better. But no, Michael, appreciate that. $100 is great. Lisa, $200. Paul, $100. Colonel Greg Martin is here with us, retired Marine Corps, just putting us all to shame. You just sit here and you just look chiseled and heroic, so we're just trying to stumble through next to you. But now that you're the president and the first who's actually being paid, and I know you're working cheap, we appreciate that, because the overhead, one of the great things about this organization is nobody's been paid all these years in those first 15 years, but there's a point. Sandy Lemcooler, who had the whole nugget of starting this whole thing as a Navy wife 15 years ago, can't do everything. She still does a lot,
to say the least.
But the decision was made to bring you on, and you had been there in a unique position because you were out serving, in the Marine Corps, and you were involved in seeing the other end, logistics, getting these heroes home for the holidays. So you saw it on that end, and now you get to be on the inside and make it grow even more.
Yeah, my experience definitely has given me a lot of insight into the foundation and some ideas on where we're headed in the future. It's about 10 or 12 years ago, I was fortunate to command the Marine Corps' Wounded Warrior effort here in the West and out into the Pacific. And when I did that, I saw the great work the foundation was doing, and they were servicing my Marines. So a lot of these folks you've been interviewing today were assigned to my battalion. I've served with them before and know them well, and it's pretty awesome to see them have the success that they've had with the help of Warrior Foundation over the years.
That's for sure. And if you look at, online, you go to Charity Navigator, 4 stars. That tells you how much, there's so many stories you hear from different charities over the years, and some have been just shocking in terms of how little goes to what they say they're raising money to do. That's not the way this organization is. I mean, you want big bang for the buck, this is it.
Well, Sandy says that she squeezes pennies until they scream, and that's definitely kind of the history.
I've heard them scream. She's still doing it in the back of the room. It's amazing.
Definitely the history of the foundation. So obviously we operate very frugally, almost entirely with volunteers, and the great things that are going on are some pretty phenomenal programs, but we are growing. So there's some things we're professionalizing, and eventually, you do have to kind of get to the point where you professionalize staffs and that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Greg Martin, Colonel Martin, appreciate your leadership here, along with with Sandy, the whole team, and I know we have an announcement coming up sometime in the noon hour about Freedom Station 2, which should encourage everybody who says you can't build anything new in California.
There's some pretty exciting news. We're stoked about it. We've been trying to be patient, and I'll just hold my tongue there.
Yeah, and we'll see some progress. We've heard, and again, a lot of people would say just don't do that. It's just too big a vision. But we sat here a couple of radiothons ago, 2 years ago, saying there was this vision. Freedom Station 1 had come together, and now the need is great, so create another one just in the same area. Some historic buildings that are beautiful. You look at Freedom Station 1 and experience what's happened there. It's not in theory, it's happening.
Yeah, one of the things when a guy's been really banged up, what you want to do is get him transitioned back into a community. That's a great place to do it, where we're at right there in South Park and Golden Hill.
So call right now, be part of this. Go to 760kfmb.com. You can check out a lot of background information. See Freedom Station. There's some videos there as well. But most importantly, please call, donate, as so many have right now. 800-760-KFMB, 800-760-5362, or go to 760kfmb.com. Mike Slater coming up here to take over the race.
Here's a reminder, when you need to know, all you need to know is AM 760 KFMB San Diego.